This guy lit up the Crimson Tide for 528 yards. We're going to talk about Nick Saban. We're going to talk about Bill Belichick. We're going to talk some SEC college football. Rohan Davey, welcome back to Tuscaloosa. I hope you're doing well, sir.
Doing well, man. Thank you for having me.
Did I have the stats right? 528 yards?
Yeah, that's right.
I don't think us Alabama fans have ever forgiven you for that.
I mean, I wouldn't forgive me either. That was a good day, though.
It was a good day. 528 yards and was able to take care of the Crimson Tide. And, that was back when Nick Saban was sort of kicking our butt and taking names.
Yeah, I sure wish it was the reverse nowadays. But, yeah, that was back in, the beginning of Coach Saban's reign.
Rohan, when you look at Coach Saban, let's go back just to the early days at LSU because he really took that program and turned them around and made them a major contender, won a championship and set up for another one. Just talk about the early process of leading – well, I said the process, but laying that foundation there in Baton Rouge.
Man, I think it started from the first day he walked into the meeting room and looked at us and said – and made the reference that we don't look like a football team. Coming from Michigan State and used to those big guys, I think that was appropriate a little bit. But, man, we knew from the beginning, from when Coach walked in the room, the discipline that he brought that we didn't have previous to him coming, the attention to detail, man, and the accountability that we immediately felt when he entered the program as our head coach. Everyone within the team, first day, first week, knew that there was just, this is going to be different. This is different. We're going to be held at a different level, different standards. We're going to be accountable. It's no longer okay to be, if a meeting's at 2 o'clock, it's no longer okay to show up at 1:50. You have to show up now at 1:30. And so he just instilled, and what they say, when guys come into a program, the hardest thing is to change the culture. And we immediately experienced a culture change with Coach Saban.
Rohan, when you go back to listening to Nick Saban walk in there, did he really say you guys don't look like a football team?
Oh, yeah. He walked in, looked, and said, "This is a football team." We look like a football team. Because, like I said, you see those bigger guys. We were small. That we built speed down here. So, yeah, he did say that. And, it honestly was a look into his humor, but it also was a look into, okay, he's going to work the hell out of us then. And it was something that you either got on board with right away or you fought against it. And the guys that fought against it, they were no longer with the program. Or eventually they were no longer with the program. That's another thing that him coming in did. It really weeded out guys that weren't going to do anything or be a benefit to the university.
Rohan, when you look at Nick Saban, and I don't think none of us could have predicted what he was able to accomplish. You count the LSU title. He tied Coach Bryant with national titles. He's won 5 out of the last 9 years here in Tuscaloosa. It is simply amazing. Can you put it in words for us?
You say it's amazing and it's not, and it's surprising. I'll be honest with you, it might sound crazy. It's not surprising to me that he's as successful as Coach has been, because the cloth that he's come from, I've been privy to work with Bill Belichick, and the success that Bill has had and the way he works and the way he runs his organization and his program is kind of the exact same thing as Coach Saban. And those guys, man, the one thing that they do, those guys are never complacent. They never think that they're at the top of the mountain. They always look to the next challenge and what's next. What can I do next? How can I better these guys next? How can I, put another feather in my hat type of thing? So it wasn't it wasn't surprising to me. It's surprising how fast Coach Saban did. But I wasn't surprised that, that he got all these titles and all these first rounders. And, so he's a hell of a coach, man.
Well, he talks about you often, too. And, I mean, I'm sitting there in a press conference. Normally, I love to get the front row where I don't have any distractions between, me and Coach Saban. I hear him mention you quite often. We got a current quarterback competition here in Tuscaloosa, and I know you and Josh Booty had one there in Baton Rouge.
Right.
So your name comes up quite often with Coach Saban during a press conference.
I think that I was I don't even know how to put it, but I was if Coach Saban was our general, I was kind of his right hand man that he could go to get things controlled throughout the team and even get the message sent down throughout the team, such as how he has it structured now. The quarterback most of the time has a really good relationship with his coach and should have a good relationship with the head coach, and that's kind of the thing that Coach Saban as well as Jimbo understood. So that relationship that I had with Coach Saban as well as Jimbo Fisher, I took it really seriously, and I took it because I was an extension of them, but also an extension of the team. So whatever the team wanted to talk about or had wanted a voice, I would take it to those guys, and vice versa. So it was a good working relationship. And also, man, they just always wanted us to get better and would do anything possible. And I think Coach Saban understood that and the relationship with he and I. And, it was more than just say, you my coach, you telling me the plays and I'm going to run it. He really treated me how, you would want a head coach, but also a friend to treat you and someone that's mentoring you, someone you look up to, such as I did look up to Coach Saban.
Coach Saban, I think, would even talk about your practice habits as well.
Nah, I didn't have.
I didn't mean to bring it up now. My bad.
No, that's all right, though. That's all right, because that's been the only thing. That was the one thing that he said to me when he first got to LSU. He watched the film. He watched me in game situations where there wasn't really a lot of film for him to watch of me in game situations when he came, because I basically got thrown in, whenever we were either losing or it was the dire straits. And the one thing he told me was, he was like, you perform when the lights come on, but I need you to perform better in practice. So we actually had a sit down, and he asked me, what can I do to help you be a better practice player? And it wasn't like I was an awful practice player. It's just the guy that I was competing against, he was the best practice player. And so if you compared our practice, he looked wonderful, and I didn't look as wonderful. But if you turn the film on when the lights come on when it's game day, then I look wonderful, and he didn't look as wonderful.
Well,
so him just being able to get the guys off the field and creating more space on the field, because for me, the space, there's always coaches and everybody on the field when you're practicing. And when you're in the game, you're just on the field with you and the other team. And so Coach Saban did that. But that's the little things that I say he and Belichick and Coach Jimbo do. They find out whatever it is that needs for you to be done, for you to perform at your maximum potential. And regardless of how small it is, if it's as simple as getting a coach from out of the secondary and don't have 6 defenders back there when it's supposed to be 5 or 4, whatever the defense is, if it's as simple as putting a coach on the sideline, he would do that. And that helps.
Rohan Davey right now visiting with us, former Nick Saban quarterback at LSU, SEC quarterback. He's a Super Bowl champ a couple of different times, and we're going to talk about that as we move into that conversation. But, Nick Saban did say, he said, now he would go out there and he would frustrate me during practice. But then as the game and the lights come on, then he said, but then he never could understand why you didn't practice as well. So maybe that's where that conversation. But he did mention, he said, Rohan would frustrate me so much in practice. But then when the lights would come on, here comes Rohan Davey. And it was how Nick Saban is. He's a perfectionist, man.
Of course he is. And that's why I could understand why practice irked him like that, because he is, a perfectionist to heart. And I understood that, and that's why I tried to become a better, practice player. And once he got those guys off the field, things did improve.
What does the process mean to you?
Say it again.
The process that he loves to use, the process.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you from being a former Nick
Man,
Saban player?
it means everything. It means everything. Because if you don't trust the process and the most important, if you don't trust who's putting the process in front of you, and you have no faith in, okay, this guy knows what he's doing, then you can't trust the process because you don't trust the individual who's putting it in front of you. So, yeah, trust the process is really important for your team, especially when you got a new coach coming in and you're trying to change the culture. But, man, that's why you need, the guys on the ground to reiterate to the other guys, yes, everything's going to be good. We're going to trust in what Coach Saban's doing. It's definitely going in a different and a better direction. Let's just see where it takes us. But it means everything, man. Coach Saban, he said that over and over to us. I'm sure every team he's been a part of. It means everything, though. It means that you have to be all in. It means that you have to be all in with your teammates, with your coaches. You can't listen to external factors when you're trying to prepare, when you're trying to work, whatever it is. No pointing fingers. Basically, trust the process. Some days are going to be better than others, but at the end of the day, trust the process and trust the person who's giving us the process that, you know what, he's proven, he's done it, he has championships, he's built programs, and this program is going to get built the same way. So it's important. It's the most important.
Rohan, when you look at Nick Saban, you had a chance to play for him at LSU. You had a chance to win Super Bowls ×2 for Bill Belichick in New England. Talk about the similarities that only a player can understand, something that maybe, we see the attention to detail, but just helping us understand playing for Nick Saban and Bill Belichick.
Man, I mean, I could just give you one example of Bill when I first got to New England. And as soon as you come through the front door, I haven't been back there in a while, so I don't know if the place has changed. But when I first got there, you come through the front entrance, which is your key entrance, come in, and then the first office to your left is Bill's. The first time I walked past his office was at, I think it might have been like 4:15 in the morning, and his office door is open. I was coming in and get a workout, and I just had the first time I ever seen it open, and I glanced in there, and there's a bed in there, and I had to ask Kevin Falk. I was like, man, do Bill sleep here? It's like, I guess sometimes, and I'm gonna tell you, man, the biggest thing with both of those guys is it's not even so much, what you guys don't know or what they are. They are basically the same person. Their sense of humor is probably the biggest difference between the two, but they are basically, man, the same person. When I say attention to detail, I mean there's no stone ever not going to be removed, turned over. There's everything that could possibly get thought about throughout the course of a football game gets thought about with those two guys. I can't come up with like one narrative or one story. Everything that they do. I mean, when I left LSU and was in New England, there would be so many little things that Bill would do that remind me of Coach Saban, whether it's walking around with your notepads and your pen in your ear, whether it's coming up to you and talking to you and saying familiar words, the same phrase as Coach Saban would. It's just little things like that that lets you know they are successful. Both of them are successful, but they're not successful by chance. They are successful because they put the work in.
Rohan, do you stay in contact with Coach Saban?
Oh yeah, I talk to Coach Saban from time to time. We'll text. I text him.
Now, hold on a minute. He texts back. Does he ever text back?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes, listen. I don't talk to the man every week, everything like that. But yeah, I definitely firmly know that if I was to reach out to Coach Saban for whatever reason, yeah, he would definitely get back to me.
Okay, no, yeah, but he's always telling us that he tells us that he doesn't call it the right thing. Twitter.
He has a great relationship, man. Not just he, but Jim. I'm really good with Jimbo Fisher as well.
Oh, sure.
Both of those guys have a really good relationship with former players. I'm sure some more than others, but they're not just coaches. They're mentors. They're, father figures to a lot of guys, and all that, man. They give sound advice, to guys that come out of a lot of guys come out of a situation where they come out of a single parent household, and it's predominantly their mothers. And so when guys come to school, the Jimbo Fishers, the Coach Sabans, the Ed Orgerons, those coaches are the coaches that, sometimes these young guys look to, and Jimbo Fishers and the Nick Sabans and then Coach Ed Orgeron, those guys do a great job, man, of not just X and O. They do so much more off the field that, media and anybody would never know, man, just personal things, So those guys, it's just not about coaching with those guys. And I'm sure all the coaches around the country could attest to that, but they're also, they trying to groom and raise men, young men with egos.
Rohan, final question. I want to walk you back to 2000, the Peach Bowl. This is the story that Nick Saban shares as often because we're going through this now with Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa. He talks about Josh Booty not having a good game. He brought you in. He benched Josh Booty, and then Rohan Davey goes on and is able to outscore the Yellow Jackets 25-0 in the second half. They go on and the success there. But then looking at this current situation, you got Jalen who got him there, and Tua was able to finish the job. Talk about quarterback competition. How do you think Nick Saban's going to handle some of this?
I think the best for the Alabama Crimson Tide in winning another championship. There's no question in my mind. There's no, favorites. I mean, this man has played freshmen. He's played seniors. He's benched a guy that's I forget what Jalen was, 23-3 or 24-5, whatever he
26-2. 26-2.
You know what I mean? So if he hasn't shown that all he cares about is the program and winning football games, that move right there, which to me was one of the ballsiest moves I've ever seen by a head coach. He's going to do what's best for him. If whoever comes out and can run the operation, last year means nothing to Coach Saban right now. Last year means nothing. Last year, you know what last year means? It showed me what you could possibly do. But if going into this season and this camp and this, if the guy who he thinks is not going to be the guy, Coach Saban's going to play who's the best guy for that position. He's going to play the best guy that's going to lead that team, hopefully back to, where he wants to be. And those guys got to have thick skin. Those guys can't be soft-hearted. They definitely got to make, I'm not going to never tell a kid what kind of decision to make for themselves. They have to sit down with their family and do that for themselves. But you came to the University of Alabama, you come to LSU, you come to A&M, you come to these schools, and it's going to be a plethora of talent. So at some point or another, like my high school coach Jerry Hughes always said, the cream always rises to the top, man. Competition brings out the best in everybody. And I think that, Jalen should, if I was him, I would have a little beef. I've been riding with the crowd. I've been doing this, doing that. But at the end of the day, it's all about who gives you the best option to win football games.
Rohan, thank you again, man. I could hear so much Nick Saban in the way that you choose to use words and the way that you describe the game of football. I thank you so much for spending time with us here in Tuscaloosa. We always love catching up with former SEC college football players and letting us sort of pick their brain a little bit. Thank you again, Rohan.
Absolutely, brother. No problem.
Thank you. Have a great afternoon, sir.
You do the same, buddy.